But so as Andre said, my name is Mondero Latrez. I know I've seen many of the faces here before, and I am the content creator behind the podcast called Love and Logic. And the podcast pretty much explores the intersectionality of love and logic, where logic and love meet, where they separate, and where the lines are often blurred, right? And so in those spaces, I really like to delve into, like, what exactly is love? And the one thing that we know that love is, period, is present. And so love is presently being all the time, 365 days of the year, 24 hours out of the day, 7 days a week. Love just is. And what's awesome about love and her beautiful presence, her beautiful demeanor, is she expects nothing more of us than to be ready to receive when she appears. That's it. Now, I know that seems seriously deep. A lot of people probably ask all the questions, but I'm definitely here to answer any questions you have about love and any questions you may even have about logic and, like, where are the roads separate. But we also will talk about in this space too, because obviously Dre having me here on his platform is law and logic. And we'll talk about how law actually governs love too, right? There are certain laws that love adheres to that we don't feel like, oh man, why isn't this working for me? But it's like, well, the law will never suspend itself in that way, right? The law just is. So let's get it cracking. I'm here to talk about it. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation.
And I would say this. First of all, one thing about Mondale and I, the words that we use are different, as you guys could hear, because I could have said all of that differently. So the way that he puts words together, I appreciate it. He knows that too. I do have something though, because when you first was creating this, the one sentence that came after the title, you said, "Does love, no, does logic have place in a loving relationship?" And I know that's where you started. So can
Yep.
you talk more about that? Can you break that down even for me? What do you
Oh
mean
yeah.
when you say that?
Yeah, yeah. So oftentimes, we believe that once we find love, once we grow in love, and I love to use the term grow in love because, as we are, Dre, I'm very careful with my words. People often say we fall in love. Well, I've never experienced a fall that hasn't hurt me, right? So I don't
Is it?
choose to fall in love. I choose to grow in love because that is something that expands me. And that growth, oftentimes, I don't necessarily feel the pain. But if I do feel the pain, much like when we're progressing through adolescence, it is always to my benefit. But I've never seen a fall that's been to anyone's benefit. So I grow in love. And the space where we talk about, does love and logic have a place in a loving relationship? People often believe that once I'm in love, I suspend all logic, right? Logic just goes out of the window, right? But logic is nothing more than our head ascension. It is the balance that comes to say, okay, love, I really appreciate what you're feeling. I love all that you're feeling, but how does this make sense, right? In a real world scenario. And then love comes back to say to logic, well, I appreciate what you're thinking, but how does that make sense in a real world scenario? Right?